A turtle-loving pimp is after the secret plans to a freeze bomb that have been implanted into the brain of a pretty lab assistant. Fortunately, George Lazemby sends kung fu superstar Jim Kelly and a Bruce Lee imitator to save her. We watch Death Dimension as we wrap up our look at James Bond actors, today on Nothing Movies.
Jameson Rafters, my friend, Jameson Rafters, my friend, Jameson Rafters, my friend, Jameson Rafters, my friend. He drove me and my cat to the vet. He is a true pal, and
yet you insist on torturing me with these little musical renditions of yours.
No,
they're delightful. They're delightful.
Everyone know what a swell gent you are.
In jingle tune. In jingle form.
Because you did me a solid favor, and I just want the world to know that I appreciate it.
Aw, you're welcome, man.
And I couldn't think of a way to end that rhyming couplet anyway, so I'm glad you interrupted me, because it was going to show how not good I am at improv. Welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to Nothing Movies, where we ask the question, the fuck is this? It's the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made and decide whether or not they leave us stirred or if we're shaken by the viewing. You like that one?
I certainly do. Boy, you've really taken this Bond series like a duck to water, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Letting the creative juices fly.
00 crack. That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Improv. I'm Kaz Leskar.
One of your strong... That and songwriting are your specialties here.
That's what I do. That's right. You can hire me anytime.
Yeah. I'm Jameson Rafter. I like well-structured, scripted bits.
That's right. That's why we always write out our jokes ahead of time.
That's true. Yeah.
That's how the professionals do it. Yeah, and we're here and we're at the end of our miniseries on the Nothing Movies of James Bond actors for now.
The first three, yeah.
The first three for now. You know, I was going through, I was doing a little like planning ahead because we may come back to Bond one of these days. Looking at the next trilogy of movies that we might have to do.
I bet you can guess which actors we're going to cover in that series.
It's pretty obvious, so you don't have to think too hard about it. And Dalton and Brosnan, no problem. They got lots of Nothing Movies to choose from. It's Craig where we might actually run into a bit of problems.
Too big of a modern star where he's only in recognizable shit?
Well, that and the fact that his movies that don't exist are all like British dramas.
Oh.
So yeah, he doesn't really have anything. He doesn't have anything involving nunchucks. Or jumping out of planes, unfortunately.
Then what are you doing with your life?
I don't know, Craig. You got to do. I don't know. Maybe he'll make something this year that no one will go to see and has a ninja in it, and then maybe we can cover it. Get on it. Stop making Knives Out. More like Knives In. Ninjas. I don't know. But yeah, today...
There's that trademark improv of yours.
We're not talking about we're not talking about any of those actors. We're talking about...
We're not talking about the super well-known James Bonds. We're talking about the one and done.
We're talking about...
The Brandon Routh of James Bond.
Wow. Excellent pull. Excellent pull. I had lunch with Brandon Routh once. It was really nice. Well, I had lunch in the same room, at the same table as Brandon Routh once.
Was he aware that you were in the room?
Yes, he was. We were on the same show together.
Okay, fair enough.
He said my name.
There you go.
He acknowledged I existed.
He seems like a nice guy.
He seemed all right. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the most undersung and criminally unappreciated of all James Bond actors. The local boy from New South Wales who made it big and then quickly decided, I don't really like it here. And then immediately went back into the shadows.
Is that what happened?
Semi-obscurity.
Was that his call?
According to Wikipedia, according to all reported news agencies, he largely stepped away from the limelight on his own accord. We're talking, of course, about Mr. George Lazenby, the second actor to portray James Bond, only in one film, one and done, the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And today we're talking about 1978's Death Dimension. Also known as, and I want to state that I'm reading this verbatim. This is the first sentence on the Wikipedia page for this movie.
Sure.
Death Dimension, also known as Death Dimensions, Freeze Bomb, Icy Death, The Kill Factor, and Black Eliminator.
Ooh. Excellent titles all, I gotta say.
Excellent titles all. I would even wager that the worst title out of all of these is the one that they end up with.
Yeah, it is.
No one really goes to a death dimension in this movie.
I will say, when I was tracking down images for when we're going to do the thumbnails, the one for Freeze Bomb is the coolest poster. And that's not a freeze joke. It is just, I think, the best looking poster. But I guess we're going with Death Dimension because that's what it's fucking called on Tubi.
Yeah, but you can't call a movie Freeze Bomb.
No, you can't put bomb in the title of your movie. That's
that is
damn
true.
Sure.
That's what the producers of Get Smart figured out when they called their movie the Nude Bomb. And actually, in point of fact, Jameson, going on, that's
wow. Okay,
that's
as long as we're on the subject.
That's why you've never heard of that movie, because it bombed horribly. Speaking of the way that this movie is billed on Tubi, it is called Death Dimension when you're looking for it, but of course when you hit play and you watch the opening credits, the name of this movie is actually Der Einzelkämpfer. For some reason, it only has the German title, but all the other titles are in English, and the vocal track is in English. But for some reason,
the only copy they had available when they put it up on Tubi.
Available.
I had my thumb on the remote, thinking like, "Oh man, do I got to start searching for an alternate version to watch this movie?" But nah, in the end, English prevailed.
As it often does.
As it often does.
Once again, English prevails. So here we are. We're at the end of our James Bond miniseries for now, for the time being. I hesitate to even ask, but Jameson, do you have any opinions on George Lazenby?
Two thoughts come to mind immediately.
Sure.
One, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a pretty damn good Bond movie, so it's a shame that is the one that I don't know. I think my two thoughts on this,
yes,
are as such. One, I think he had a very thankless task of being the first man up following Sean Connery. Now, in this day and age, people assuming the mantle of a franchise role it happens often. You can ask a room of generations apart and say, who's Batman to you? Who's Spider-Man to you, right? That just happens. But back in, I'm going to say, the late 60s, assuming the figurehead title character of a franchise role didn't happen that often. Mm-hmm. It was always like, no, it's John Wayne who's in all the fucking westerns. It's Errol Flynn who's in all the fucking swashbucklers. It's Sean Connery who's in all the spy movies. And all of a sudden he gets replaced by someone. And I can imagine a lot of people were like...
The operative word there being someone. By truly, not to knock him early on, but when George Lazenby accepted the role of James Bond, he truly was nobody. He had no film roles to his name. He was a male model whose biggest role before that was a series of chocolate bar adverts where he would travel around in a wagon and he would hand out chocolates to all the good British boys and girls.
So you can see why he was a natural fit for the Bond role.
He just stepped right in.
Yeah, but longtime fans were probably already crossing their arms wondering, who the fuck is this guy? How dare he take over the role of James Bond? Nowadays, actors replacing famous characters in franchise roles, and that happens all the fucking time now.
Yeah, and also
I specifically say franchise roles, and not he's another actor who plays Hamlet. Because that's not an ongoing
Hamlet's
role.
A franchise.
It's an ongoing... it's a story, but it's not an ongoing role.
They made Hamlet too, with Steve Coogan.
Okay.
No,
anyway.
Speaking on what you were saying about, the superhero stuff and everything, that's how it used to be. Weirdly, we are now at this point in time where we don't so much have actors replacing people as Batman and Superman. We just have all of the actors who have played Batman and all of the actors who have played Spider-Man in the same movie now. Yeah. And they all hang out and they all make in-jokes about, hey, remember my movie? That was crazy, right? Mm-hmm.
It was cute the first time they did that.
Yeah, they could probably pump the brakes on that. Thank goodness we haven't gotten that far with James Bond, although who is to say that isn't in the future? One thing that we have not spoken about during this miniseries that we were going going to bring up on the last episode. We were going to tack it on, but then we decided maybe we should just bring it up at the beginning of the next episode here, is, of course, as we were recording this miniseries, Eon Productions went ahead and sold the rights to James Bond to Amazon.
Yeah.
So now 007 is in the evil clutches of Jeff Bezos, and who knows what that means for the franchise. I think we can speculate what direction it's probably going to go in. I will put money down right now that within 5 years' time, they will announce a streaming TV show called Moneypenny. That is 100% a thing that is going to happen. So time will only tell.
Yeah. I think everyone is just anticipating the worst based on a track record that Amazon may have.
Well, based on the track record of streaming sites to begin with, and the way that they handle properties. Like, I mean, like, look what happened. I think people are worried that Bond is going to turn into what Disney Plus turned Star Wars into. Just
derivative.
And, just derivative, and here's more content for you. You know?
And it seems to me like it's going to live or die based on the creative forces behind the camera.
Live or die another day.
Thank you. Where
I had to do it. I was sitting on the entire time. Sorry.
Really? You're just waiting for that. It's the word of the day.
That 4 seconds was unbearable for me. Let me tell you.
Yeah. But like just the creative talent behind the camera are going to make sure whether or not this is going to be done with care and with precision, and whether or not it's just going to be, what if we did young James Bond? Or what if we just did like, I don't know, like they can get pretty creative with it. I know there's been a good contingent of fans. Hey, actually, shout out to my buddy Jason, who I was talking to at the bar. He's a longtime James Bond fan, and he said, I want to see them go and do like a period James Bond.
That's what a lot of people want with like this next go around. Like we've had Craig, we've had him like get like down and dirty. We've had him like chasing like the trends of like the 2010s and everything like that. We've had the Bond movie that's like a Jason Bourne movie. We've had it like the superhero stuff. Yeah, like there seems to be a contingent of Bond fans that wants to like bring him back to the Connery era,
1960s,
have him play Baccarat or like something along those lines.
In the looming shadow of the Cold War, I
think it's just more about the fact that if you do a modern day James Bond right now, he's gonna have to like fight AI or some nonsense like that. It's just, I don't want a modern James Bond because modern day is depressing as fuck.
Yeah.
And I would like some escapism. Thank you very much. And that's something that a franchise like James Bond can bring us.
I mean, I think the only thing that they have left to do that they haven't done already is say the origins of the 00 program set in the shadow of World War II. And it's, the tale of the very first James Bond who's inducted into the code name of the Bond.
Origins.
Not Origins. Like they recruit like the top naval officer or whatever to be the new James.
You can't put that out into
the first 007.
You can't put that out into the ether because now someone's going to hear that and be all like, that's a great idea. Hey, wow, we'll do that.
Hey, Jason and I are working on the pitch right now.
Oh, God.
We're doing a trilogy.
Those people will take it. I mean, like...
Episode 2 takes place in the fucking 1950s. We're going to introduce Felix Leiter.
Well, but they've already done a miniseries on the life of Ian Fleming, and
have
like
they?
And have been like doing his life story about his time working for like the spy company and everything, and he had like the house called GoldenEye, the GoldenEye property or whatever it was. I didn't watch it because it didn't sound interesting because it wasn't about James Bond. It was about the guy who made James Bond, and I don't really care about that. I mean, speaking about Amazon, you've watched The Boys, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like, I just read a press release the other day, because they have that spin-off. They have the Gen V spin-off.
Right, which is pretty good.
It's okay, and then they've just announced that they have yet another spin-off that's called Voight Rising, and it's about, like, the rise of the evil company or whatever, and it's just all like, you guys have just become a parody of the thing that you're parodying within the series.
Squeezing blood out of that stone.
Run
it into the ground, why don't you?
The Boys was a great graphic novel series that I enjoyed reading, and I'm enjoying like the first couple of seasons of the show. I don't need endless spin-offs from it though. No. Like just do something really good for a couple of seasons and then end it and then do something
and then
else.
It can stand on its own as like a successful property. Get those creative brain trusts to work on something different, because I'm sure they're a little burnt out on The Boys.
But that's not the world we currently live in.
No.
In preparation for this episode, I did rewatch On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah. It's the only Bond film I rewatched for this little miniseries that we were doing because I wanted to give myself a bit of a Lazemby take.
Especially since like there's only one you have to
commit to. It's the only one,
yeah.
and it had been a while since I had seen it, and the reputation that movie has, it definitely has gained this reputation of the one with the guy that you've never heard of is secretly one of the best ones. It definitely has, like a lot of people put it in their top 5.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed by it.
Really?
I'll be honest. I think I naturally am less inclined to the older Bonds over, the ones that I grew up with, the Brosnans and the Craigs and
sure.
I didn't grow up with the Craigs, but I enjoyed a lot of it and really picked up near the end. What I loved about that movie, if you listening haven't seen the movie recently, what it largely involves is James Bond meets this tortured, sort of like thrill-seeking Contessa, played by Diana Rigg, and he kind of starts catching feelings for her, and her father is like this crime lord who invites Bond over, and it basically says like, you should sleep with my daughter, it would be good for her, I approve of this.
Yeah.
And Bond says, I'll continue to date your daughter if you give me information on where I can find Blofeld, because this movie is meant to be, it is set up in the opening as a direct continuation of You Only Live Twice.
Right.
It's meant to be the continuing stories. All of like the MI6 people are still there. They're all played by the same actors.
Yep.
Much like how when, like Batman Forever rolled around, it's Val Kilmer now, but we still got the same Alfred. We still got the same Commissioner Gordon. So it's shorthand for us being all like, okay, it's the same guy.
Right.
Living in the same world. And then there is just this, for me anyway, interminably boring, like 20 to 25 minute stretch of that movie where Bond goes undercover. He finds out that Blofeld has disguised himself as like an aristocratic count or something who has like this allergy hospital in the Swiss Alps, and he's developing ways to cure all of the world's allergies, but of course secretly it's germ warfare, and he's gonna take over the world that way.
And he's got like this like sexy harem.
Which like I had some issues with that too. I'm gonna get to that in a second, because my main sticking point is that Bond goes undercover as like this genetics professor because Blofeld wants to prove his claim to counthood or dukedom or whatever. So Bond goes undercover. He's like, oh, hello, I'm Sir Hilary Bigglesworth of Oxford University. And Blofeld's like, oh, nice to meet you. I'm Count what's his name. And the entire time I'm just sitting there going, you know each other. You've met. And I know I'm not the first person to bring up this plot hole before, but it's like, you're mortal enemies. You've met face to face, and the only explanation that makes any goddamn sense
is they recast the parts.
Is that they're played by two different actors, but they're not. But if that's the explanation for it, why have it be Blofeld at all? Why not just have it be like, which is not the first time you could say that about a James Bond movie. Why have it be Blofeld? But I just found it so crazy. Like I couldn't get over that massive plot hole in that sense where it's all like, but you know who that is. And they're just doing like this tete-a-tete. It's like, oh, more brandy, Sir Hilary? And I'm all like, can we fucking get on with it? And then Diana Rigg zooms back in her car, and she kind of saves the movie. And it has a bitchin' fucking ski chase down the mountain. And, that looks fucking cool as hell.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this much about George Lazenby's turn as James Bond. The part where he is skiing down the mountain, escaping from the goons, and he goes into that skiing village, and he's hiding out, and he's like completely isolated. There is a look of fear in George Lazenby's eyes that you just never saw from Connery. For the first time, I think, in the franchise, Bond is on his heels and he has no escape plan and he's fearful for his life. Now, people could argue that James Bond should never be in a position where he's compromised like that or he's never been tested. But that go around is like, okay, well, this is just a newer take on Bond. It's got a little bit more of a tinge of realism to it. I appreciated that. And then, of course, Diana Rigg shows up in her car and escapes with him.
Well, he has
but it was like in that moment where I thought like, okay, this is something new, a new take on the character that we haven't seen before. That's what a new actor should bring to a recurring franchise character role. That's my thought. That's my 2 cents.
It could also be Lazenby, the actor, like behind the eyes, just being all like, "Oh my god, am I fucking this up? Oh my god."
Maybe.
This never happened to the other guy.
Yeah, that line.
That line. Yeah, that doesn't hold up terribly well. But whatever. Again, if they're gonna reference the fact that he's a different guy, I feel like
it lends more credence to the theory that Bond's a code name.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like this movie kind of, because this was the first movie that changed out actors, this sort of started that theory that James Bond is a code name. You were saying Blofeld has like these 9 allergic beauties or whatever that he's like
all different ethnicities.
Different ethnic. Okay.
Yeah.
This was my big issue. Do you know what I'm about to reference? The fact that, okay, so he has all of these beautiful women here, all of the different ethnicities, and they all have like a specific food allergy, and then it's like they ring the dinner bell, and it's all like, oh, it's dinner time, and all of the women, they get like the silver dome taken off their tray or whatever, and each woman just has one item, and it's the one item that they're allergic to, and one woman just has like a mound of chicken in front of her, and it's all like, oh, I've never used to eat chicken before, and it's great, and it's like, all right, I understand this is fine. The one Asian woman eating rice with chopsticks, the one woman of color eating a banana. Also, like, if she's allergic to bananas, like, great, cure my banana allergy, that's fine. When dinner time rolls around, I'm sure she wants something more than just, like, a bunch of bananas. And of course, the deal with On Her Majesty's Secret Service is that it has like this incredibly abrupt and bleak, dark ending.
Yeah.
That very few of the James Bond movies have ever tried to replicate. I'd say like really the only other one that's ever
Casino Royale
attempted that. Well, Casino Royale, but also No Time to Die.
Right.
Has a pretty.
But we're talking about
dark
Bond.
Ending.
Bond gets married and then his wife gets gunned down on their honeymoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or on the way to the
not even on their honeymoon, just like
Yeah.
like minutes after they leave the venue.
Sure, yeah. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of Bond fans may have had a big problem with. Like, Bond shouldn't have a happy ending. He shouldn't have a betrothed. He shouldn't have a wife to call his own. And then when in my eyes, when I saw Casino Royale do that, I got the idea that, okay, well, this is just sort of like a big overlap on what the Daniel Craig movies tried to do. They tried to speed run through all the quintessential big moments of the Bond franchise, starting with his wife getting killed.
Yeah, I haven't done the research on this necessarily. The death of both of those female characters may be attributed to the books. I'm not certain. It does feel like perhaps the death of his wife was an Ian Fleming creation,
Maybe.
So they maybe just be like following like the text of it.
I don't remember anything about Sean Connery's Bond having been a widow.
Well, what's, of course, interesting is that immediately after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, they sort of just wipe the slate clean and go back to basics.
Yeah.
I was interested. I haven't watched Diamonds in Forever in a really long time. Now I think that's the next one that I'm going to watch, largely because I want to see if they reference anything that happens, because it is him versus Blofeld again.
I don't think they do.
No, I think
having like somewhat recently watched all the movies. Yeah, I think they just completely they wipe clean everything from the Lazemby movie right up until the scene in The Spy Who Loved Me, where the Russian spy says something about like you're still mourning. Your
and it's like
the
one moment where Roger Moore like drops like all the artifice and is just all like, you know what? I don't talk about that. Let's move on.
You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
But like, as I was saying briefly about Lazenby, so the story goes, Albert Broccoli met him when he was getting his hair cut. That was his being discovered in like a malt shop moment or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
And so
malt shop.
I
know what you mean.
There's some famous actress who got discovered at a diner or something. I can't even remember.
It happens.
It does happen, and it happened here for him. So being the producer, getting his haircut, and the chocolate bar advertisements, and also he was a fairly successful model. I believe I read that he was like the top model of 1966 or whatever. So, like his face was out there.
Sure.
And I will say, watching the movie, he's not similar in facial structure to Sean Connery.
No.
If you squint a little bit, they kind of look like the same guy. So I can kind of see why
Yeah,
they
yeah.
ended up casting him.
I get it.
But after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, they did offer him the next Bond movie after that, which was going to be The Man with the Golden Gun. It wasn't going to be Diamonds Are Forever. That was going to be the next Lazenby one. But for some reason, his agent apparently convinced him not to continue on with the James Bond franchise because, according to him, his agent said the spy thrillers are out of vogue. Like this isn't a franchise that's going to last for much longer. You're going to want to cut and run.
Yeah.
Hey,
maybe public opinion kind of soured on him because Sean Connery wasn't coming back.
Yeah, the movie wasn't terribly well received at the time.
Yeah,
it really took a long time for fans to sort of catch up with that.
Yeah,
one.
and you don't want to be the face of the guy who was the anchor on this beloved franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
And also from what I've read, George Lazenby was kind of, I wouldn't say he was a pacifist, but he didn't really...
he didn't like violence.
He didn't revel in violence,
right.
In the way. So I think he didn't feel like Bond was that good of a fit for him to begin with. So his immediate follow-up to On Her Majesty's Secret Service was a film called Universal Soldier.
Not the Van Damme one.
Not the Van Damme one, but this was a movie that he co-wrote, and it is about a former gun smuggler who seeks to recant his violent ways and depose an African dictator.
Okay.
Now, my plan was for us to watch this movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, you did suggest
other than this one, I watched 20 random minutes of it. It seems weird and experimental and very, very much like the people behind it were probably smoking the wacky tobacco when they made it. We probably could have had something to talk about here, but I mean, we'll get to it. I think we probably
we got a lot of material to cover in this one.
Going that. And then basically, when that movie didn't go, he did the Rick Dalton thing, and he just like immediately started making foreign films. He makes an Italian film called Who Saw Her Die. He made lots of kung fu movies.
Yeah.
And of course, the big sort of trivia fact about George Lazenby is that he was real life friends with Bruce Lee.
Huh.
They were actual buddies, and as the story goes, Lazenby actually had plans to have dinner with Bruce Lee the day that he died.
Aww.
So yeah, they were buddies, and
so he had a free evening.
Yeah. Oh God. He's all like, "Oh God, this is one of my dearest friends," but also,
yeah,
you know how it is, like when you have like plans with somebody and then they
fall through,
and then you're instantly like more happy that I don't have to leave the house.
Yeah, I'm sure he was thrilled.
But like outside of that, like his film appearances really are far in between. He has like a small role in the Kentucky Fried Movie. He has a small role in the Peter Bogdanovich film Saint Jack, which apparently he's quite good in. He has a role in the John Stamos, Gene Simmons vanity project, Never Too Young to Die.
Holy fuck, that movie's a fucking trip.
And when I say vanity project, I mean the actress Vanity was in it.
Yeah,
I realized. I believe he plays John Stamos' father in that.
I believe so.
He's in the Gettysburg movie in the 1993. They did like a big budget Gettysburg movie with Robert Duvall and Jeff Daniels. He plays J. Johnson Pettigrew, of course. I bet he has a fantastic mustache in that. And that's largely it outside of like a bunch of like direct-to-DVD stuff. The most significant thing he's done in over several decades was he was in the documentary Becoming Bond, which was a movie about him, which is a really solid watch. It's one of those fun documentaries that... rather than just being like a talking head situation, George Lazenby is telling his story of his journey through Hollywood, and then actors are acting it out.
Okay.
So there's like people playing George Lazenby and playing other people. I think there might be like some famous people in it.
Oh,
too.
okay. Huh.
So yeah, that's definitely worth a watch if that's still up there. I think that might be on Hulu or something. But yeah, I'll be honest. Unfortunately, my rewatch of On Her Majesty's Secret Service was more of a meh. And I kind of didn't really come away with much of an opinion on Lazemby. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's serviceable. He's not the interesting thing about that movie. Diana Rigg walks away with that movie completely.
Yeah.
To the point that you want her in it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was saying before, thankless task of having to fill the shoes of Sean Connery. I thought that he played the moments of fear when he's getting chased down by the enemies a lot well, probably because, as we discussed, he wasn't like a violent person by nature. He didn't quite revel in it. I kind of like Telly Savalas as Blofeld.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. To the fact that I think the DC animated universe that I love so much, they based their Lex Luthor off of Telly Savalas.
I had that realization when I was watching it too, because he sounds like Clancy Brown in the DC animated stuff.
Yeah,
and he really does. I always laugh at like the trajectory of Blofeld, because if first it was I haven't looked up their ages, but it's like Donald Pleasance to Telly Savalas to Charles Gray, 3 very different looking dudes, but it feels like for the middle one, Blofeld got like much younger, just like this one movie.
Yeah. Speaking of vanity,
and then of course Christoph Waltz came and is the definitive. No, I don't think so. No.
Such high hopes when he was cast as Blofeld.
I know. Yeah. That's just the bottom kind of fell off on that guy. Like he was. He's one of the most forgotten actors to have like two Academy Awards. Coming soon, Adrian Brody will follow up on that too.
You're on blast, Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody is going to be the male Hilary Swank.
Jeez.
That's my prediction right there.
Hilary Swank catching strays.
Someone who has 2 Academy Awards for a lead acting performance, whose career will be non-existent very shortly.
Yeah.
That's my hot ticket. My hot money.
And very fitting that we're talking about this on the George Lazenby episode.
We gotta fill time.
Yeah.
We gotta fill time. But hey, look, we're at half an hour, so why don't we go ahead and take a break and get in. When we come back, we'll talk about Death Dimension. Not to reveal my hand too early here, Jameson, but the best movie we've ever covered on this podcast.
Oh, perhaps.
We'll get into it. I'm really excited to start talking about it.
Yeah.
See you in a minute.
Welcome back to the 1970s exploitation hour.
Death Dimension, aka a bunch of other shit.
Yeah, take your poison.
Was directed by Al Adamson. Now, when I looked up this director, I did like my usual thing where I'm just going like,
what's this guy done? What's this cat done?
What's this guy up to? What's going on here? I'll hop on like
what's the story, Al?
On the internet ticker here. I'll see like what he's best known for. Very first hit when I looked him up, boom, Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Fuck yeah. All right, good.
And I was so tempted to just stop right there, to just be all like, that's good, I don't need to look into this any further.
I think I got it.
I can stop now, job done. But I decided to dig a little bit more, and frankly I'm kind of glad I did, because there are 2 other things that I feel like I should at the very least mention about this movie, about this director. One, this is the second time that he has worked with the star of this movie, Dynamite Jim Kelly.
Hell yeah.
The earlier one was a film he made 2 years earlier called Black Samurai.
Oh, nice.
Which I'm probably going to have to check out.
Hell yeah.
And I will say, as opposed to Death Dimension, I will say this title probably accurately depicts what happens in the movie. There's a samurai, and he's a black guy. But the other thing that I should talk about, Al Adamson, not obviously the only thing. He was an entire ass guy who had like a complete career and everything. I'm
he was
sure
an ass man.
He was a famous ass man. No, but the other thing that I learned about Al Adamson that I definitely feel like we should mention here is that he
was murdered.
Oh no!
In 1995, Al Adamson was reported missing, and after a 5-week search, law enforcement officials discovered his remains beneath the concrete and tile-covered floor where his hot tub once sat in his home in Indio, California. they arrested his live-in contractor, Fred Fulford. Apparently, Adamson had hired Fulford to redo his house so he could flip it, and he had given him a credit card, which Fulford immediately started overspending on, which led to several loud disagreements between the two of them, the last of which resulted
in a murder.
In Adamson being freaking murdered.
Oh my God.
And this guy hid him under the floor of his house like he's Edgar Allan fucking Poe. And then
under the hot tub, you say? Or
well, it was where the hot tub was supposed to be.
Oh, I thought it was like it was there, and then in addition to that, he moved the hot tub and then absconded with the hot tub.
Well, according to, I mean, he might have. He sounded like a pretty shifty guy. But according to this, his housekeeper, after she noticed that he hadn't been around in like a month or so or whatever, started looking around the house, and then she went into this one room and said, "Wait, didn't a hot tub used to be in here?" And I guess that's when the cops got called.
Al, are you in the hot tub room? Al?
Yes, so this guy got fucking murdered.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, man.
So, like, I'm really glad that I didn't stop at Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Right, yeah.
I'm glad that I just, like, gave, like, a cursory glance over his Wikipedia page.
There's a more interesting story to be had than Dracula versus Frankenstein.
And this has been covered in several documentaries. It's a piece of true crime.
Oh, my God.
So, like, yeah.
Hollywood true crime.
Some of the most interesting true crime. So, yeah. So that's an interesting footnote for this movie.
Absolutely.
It's only the second time this has happened. We've talked about somebody who was murdered. There was an actor in that Rosemary's Baby movie we watched.
Right.
That also got murdered. But it wasn't the director, so...
No.
So,
and also, didn't the director of Laser Mission, isn't he involved in, like, the conspiracy about Brittany Murphy's death?
I think his wife thinks she knows who murdered Brittany Murphy and her husband, and also like their next door neighbor. So listen to our episode on Hamburger, the motion picture.
Yeah, to know
if you want to hear
to go on that
the
deep
fallout
dive,
of that. I have not followed up on that. I don't know what's going on.
We should start another podcast where we just we investigate true crimes and all the bullshit movies we cover.
I don't know what the status of BJ Davis is currently right now. Maybe he's been disappeared. But who's to say? But yeah, so yeah, Al Adamson directed this movie. I also noted in the opening credits that the writer and producer was Harry Hope. Mm-hmm. The cinematographer was Gary Graver. So I don't know what the deal with the alliteration was. Even the dude who murdered him had an alliterative name. So I'm actually not sure what's going on here.
Did this take place in the fucking Marvel Comics universe? What's going on here?
Yeah. So the deal with Death Dimension is that this is a movie that technically falls under the category. There was a bunch of movies like this that existed in the 70s called Bruce-sploitation.
Yeah, with Myron Bruce Lee, sort of the...
Myron Bruce Lee, this is apparently his only film role.
No, that can't be right.
I'm gonna look it up right now. IMDb only has him credited for one thing, but I'm gonna double check.
But it was in the wake of Bruce Lee's death. There were a lot of knockoff copycat movies where they just hired, some kung fu martial artist from China who like maybe have had like a passing resemblance to Bruce Lee to kind of carry on the mantle of being Bruce Lee in these Bruce Lee movies.
So there was like a whole string of actors that were in that. So I think Myron Bruce Lee was in this movie.
He was just one of them.
And maybe another one. But yeah, and all of them had names that obviously weren't their real names, but they all had stage names that were changed so that they resembled Bruce Lee. Yeah. Because, of course, the thing to remember is that when these movies came out, there was no internet or anything like that. So a movie could get, like, released in, like, a drive-in or whatever. You would put a name that sounded like Bruce Lee, and you would catch, like, these unsuspecting bumpkins who are all like, the new Bruce Lee movie's out. Didn't he die? No, he's right here in this movie, Ma.
Yeah.
And that's what the producers were banking on. They were banking on people not realizing that this wasn't the guy who's very publicized and tragic death at a young age.
Or maybe it was just a shorthand of like, well, this would be a Bruce Lee movie had he been around, but if you want to go see it, We got the next best thing.
And
we
I
got
mean,
him carrying up the mantle.
The crazy thing about Death Dimension is that it stars a former co-star of a former co-star of Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly, and Bruce Lee's actual real life friend George Lazenby.
Yeah.
So it has like this weird element of like, and the other.
Man, now that I think about it, I'm sure they were just. Their stomachs were turning at the thought of being in this movie.
Well, who's to say what really, like, the actors knew while this movie was being filmed? Like, you can imagine that they may not have even known that they were gonna, like, restyle and, like, rename, like, this actor. Because the character's name is just Lee in the film.
Yeah.
He's not, an important character at all. He's given this big introduction and then he kind of disappears for most of the movie.
I mean, his introduction is with a phone call with Jim Kelly, and the way that
so awkward.
The way they talk about it is like, "Hey, good to hear from you again. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Looking forward to you being my co-star in this movie."
They have a prehistory that we don't know about, but given maybe the cinema history of wow.
Hello, IJ. How are you?
Fine, Lee. How you doing, man? Long time no see.
Yeah. It's nice working together again.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, I have no idea if George Lazenby objected to this, given like his actual friendship with Bruce Lee. I don't know if like this was. I mean, it sounds like this movie had like 18 different titles or whatever. So who's to say if George Lazenby ever even watched this, or if he just shot his days and then washed his hands, collected his paycheck and walked into the sun.
From what I know about 70s exploitation kung fu movies, I'm sure there was just sort of like, let's just get on with it, let's roll with it.
We got like 5 of these to make this month alone.
Yeah.
All right, so the movie opens.
Yes, with a woman undergoing the severed procedure
with forehead surgery.
Yeah.
I was back when I was considering Universal Soldier, and I was watching like random minutes of this. I'm all like, maybe there's other movies I should roll around. Found this on Tubi, hit play. First thing that pops up, bloody forehead surgery. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I found it.
Yeah. They are implanting a microchip, which they call a microdot.
It's a microdot.
Microdot into her.
It's technology that only the 70s had.
No, it's literally what they're doing in Severance. Severance stole their fucking premise with this movie.
Spoilers for Severance.
It's the fucking first episode.
I haven't seen the first episode. Spoilers for the first episode of Severance.
All right, well, it's not quite, but it is brain surgery to implant the special device in people's brains. Anyway, this one contains all the data of this one scientist who has invented a freeze bomb, aka a death dimension, aka...
This movie has a motherfucking freeze bomb in it. Strap in, folks. This is what we're doing. Yeah. So this is Dr. Mason. We find out that he has been, I guess, bought or conscripted to make like this doomsday weapon for a crime lord,
a pimp, essentially.
Yeah,
essentially, who's dipping his toes into.
We're gonna talk about it, but in the opening,
like a pimp with delusions of grandeur. This guy.
In the opening credits, yes, we can see that he has had second thoughts and he realizes that he's done a horrible thing. So yes, he's taken the only blueprints for this freeze ray and he has sewn them into the forehead of his assistant Felicia.
Yeah.
And he says, "You gotta get the fuck out of here. I'll stay behind and I'll take the bullet, but you gotta go. You gotta escape because we can't let these fall into enemy hands."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess they only make one of these bombs for a demo. So
probably very expensive to build a freeze ray.
It's not a ray. It's a bomb.
All right, fine. It's a freeze bomb.
It's a freeze bomb.
All right, fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we go impractical weapon that could never exist. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
The practicalities of it.
I was going to say popular mechanics, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it was meant to be something that fought global drought, but what it is essentially a thing that just does like a flash freeze of people, which is demoed when they tie up 4 grandpas to a post.
I love like the abrupt cuts in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who these guys are, like if they were like friends of the producers or whatever. They like threw like a couple of $100 in or whatever. It's all like, hey, do you want to have like a small part in the movie? Oh, sure, that sounds fine. Great, we gotta go right now.
Yeah.
We gotta go right. I don't know who these guys are. I know one thing for absolute certain, Jameson.
They're dead. They're doomed.
They're doomed, but like the one thing I know for absolute certain, those were the clothes they were wearing when they showed up on set. There's no way in hell that those were costumes, because it's just 4 old guys in like beige slacks.
That's the 70s for you, man.
Being tied back to back.
No wardrobe.
And they don't even look scared. They look grumpy.
Yeah.
More than anything. Let's get on with it.
I thought I'd get some lines.
And this is where we meet the villains of our movie. We meet our pimp with delusions of world domination grandeur, Santo Messino, a.k.a. the Pig. And this is the point where I reveal that I've inadvertently buried the lead for our James Bond miniseries, because this is actually a twofer.
Yes.
We get one of the most iconic James Bond henchmen of all time, Harold Sakata, of course, known for playing Odd Job. And he is in this movie playing the lead villain, and he is his entire performance is entirely dubbed by another actor.
Yep.
Now, Jameson, did you recognize his voice?
I did not.
Would you be amazed if I told you that it was none other than the beloved character actor James Hong?
No way, really?
An uncredited James Hong provides the voice of the Pig throughout all of this movie.
Oh, man. Fuck, how many times has he appeared now? Is this our third?
Is this our third? I think this might just be our third.
Okay.
So he's just, I'll have to do the math after the fact, but yeah, he's slowly creeping up here.
Okay.
But yes,
this is Cyber Bandits. One other thing.
Yeah, is it, or was it just Cyber Bandits?
Shit, we'll look into this.
We'll look into this, and we'll
but it's been a minute since we talked about like the beloved James Hong.
And yeah, this is just one of 18,000 movies that he has like on his CV. Like he just did everything back in the day. And this is like the point in time in his career where he's actually like the most prolific. Like you would think like nowadays, because he's always popping up and stuff, but no, he was just in everything back then.
Oh, doesn't he have like an insane credit of like having like close to 50 movies a year?
Absolutely, yeah. But no, this is just like an uncredited work that he did, dubbing Harold Sakata. I don't know why. I have to assume he doesn't have a great grasp on the English language, but maybe. Who is to say? He didn't really talk as Odd Job, so I don't really know what the guy's voice sounds like.
I got 2 points to make about Odd Job in this movie.
Okay.
All right. 1, him wearing a suit all the time in Goldfinger. I had no idea how fucking jacked he was. His fucking biceps are like the size of my thigh.
His biceps are incredible. I will say, when he's just wearing like slacks and a Hawaiian t-shirt, he's a little less intimidating than he is when he's wearing a bowler hat and a suit. I gotta admit, when he's just like a guy. What's your second point?
My second point is, I could tell why he's always wearing a fucking hat in Goldfinger.
Oh boy, buddy.
The state of that haircut. Oh my fucking God.
Look.
It's like he lost a fight with a lawnmower.
Harold, my dude, like I'm one to talk. Like I haven't shaved my head in quite a while, but like I just have like the one bald patch. This motherfucker has tufts. This motherfucker has like little tufts all over his head.
Whoever suggested the patches, it's not working for you.
I don't think anyone suggested anything.
No.
I think Harold Sagata just showed up and it's just all like, all right, let's film this thing. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's all like, do you want to go to hair and makeup? He's all like, why? I'm fine. Let's go.
What hair? I'm fine with
definitely
this.
fine. Yeah. It was atrocious. It was really bad. You really just needed to shave it, my dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we also meet his unscrupulous, scar-faced henchman, Tatupa, who we learn is a Haitian man who is part of like a Haitian cartel, and he wears this sharp little pinky ring that he uses to slash people's throats with.
Yes.
And he's just like a generally unpleasant character.
Very scarred and everything. Yeah.
So Dr. Mason comes over, and the Pig is all like, "Let's see this demonstration here. Noodles, anyone?" So I had to get one in early. And then they blow up these 4 Grampies just sitting in the middle of a field, and then all of a sudden everyone's covered in fake snow.
Yeah, fake snow from
covered
a distance.
Covered in asbestos.
And that is the only time we will see the freeze bomb go off in this movie.
Yeah, that's why it's a bad title to call your movie Freeze Bomb, because they only do it one time at the beginning.
I'll tell you this much. laser mission didn't have a fucking laser in it. This one at least detonates the fucking freeze bomb
That
once.
is true. There's more freeze bomb in the movie than there is Dimension of Death.
That's
so
right.
I'll give it that.
Unless the AoE of
they-
that bump, that is the death
They
dimension.
were in the Death Dimension.
They were in the
there
Death
we go.
Dimension.
We solved it.
There
we
you go.
All right. I think it's around this time that we get the first of many references to General Jameson, which was a name that I immediately wrote down for obvious reasons.
Man, I was just rubbing my hands thinking, okay, incoming Facebook profile picture coming my way here. And no, General Jameson is mentioned many times.
Yes.
Never appears on screen.
General Jameson.
Never on the phone.
No, we don't
not
even
a
get a
presence.
voiceover. He's General not appearing in this movie is
Yeah.
what he is. Yeah. But they keep referencing him.
Yeah.
Because, he's...
General Jameson just does fuck all. And, generally I do fuck all. So there you go.
There you go. It's perfect. It's your dream role. It's the role you were born to play.
No lines, no
No lines,
on-camera
no-
appearance. Yeah.
That's why.
Sign me up.
That's how he likes it. Yeah, so Felicia has escaped to Los Angeles?
L.A.
Yeah, L.A. With the secret information, and
Dr. Mason is killed.
Well, Dr. Mason kills himself.
Right, yeah.
He gives himself an injection of something because the pig is all like, what happened to your assistant? Where's your lovely assistant? I want to see her here.
Yeah.
And we find out that she's escaped. So he's all like, get ready, Dr.
Mason.
Dr. Mason. It's time to die. And he goes, you're too late. And then he falls over dead, which is a pretty boss way to...
On your own terms like
on
that.
your own terms or whatever.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can really do. They can fuck your corpse over, I guess, but can't touch me now.
That's right.
He's in the Death Dimension now. We're gonna keep finding ways to bring that back.
Yeah. So we meet up with Jim Kelly's Mr. Ash, who is a
Lieutenant Detective
Lieutenant
Ash.
Detective Ash.
He's a kung fu cop.
He's a kung fu cop and kung fu instructor, which is basically just our first of many fucking fight scenes in the movie where he's just like kicking the ass of all his students.
Well, he's teaching the other cops to learn how to do kung fu.
Sure, yeah.
Is what I gleamed from this. Yes. For anyone listening who is not familiar with it, we alluded to it earlier, but Jim Kelly appeared in a supporting role in the probably the one Bruce Lee movie that I would wager everyone has seen, Enter the Dragon. And I always felt that it was a huge disservice that he gets killed off in that movie.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be John Saxon, and then Jim Kelly was supposed to make it to the end of the movie, but apparently John Saxon fucking took his dick out of his pants and swung around. And was all like, I'm not dying in this movie.
I don't die.
I mean, I love John Saxon too, but it's like Jim Kelly is so cool and untouchable in that movie when it's like revealed that he's like hanging from a tree or whatever happens to him. You're all like, that seems unlikely.
Yeah.
That would happen to him.
And then they just say, well, we'll redeem you, Jim Kelly, in this movie. You get the starring role of it.
With a succession of like Z-grade action movies that if they're anything like this one, I'm checking them out.
Yeah.
Good.
No, Jim Kelly's the best.
Jim Kelly is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And he plays Detective Ash, and I guess we meet the police captain, Captain Gallagher, played by George Lazenby, who finds out about Felicia coming to town, and he puts Jim Kelly on the case. Oh no, what happens is there's like a cop, right? There's like a cop who tries to infiltrate the pig's hideout.
Yeah, he looks like fucking Welcome Back Kotter, and he goes to the...
To be fair, everyone
it
looked
was
like
the
that
70s.
back
It was the
then.
fucking 70s,
That was
right?
the style at the time.
Yeah, it really was. He infiltrates the compound, the Mustang Ranch, the literal Mustang Ranch of the pig, and he gets got by Tapupo, or is that his name? Tatupa.
You're really close.
Yeah, thank you. So he gets killed by him. But I guess he managed to get the information out that Felicia is on the run. She has to meet up with General Jameson, apparently. And
sometime, eventually, we'll get to it.
LAPD, be on the lookout for this lady because she's going to save you from a wannabe terrorist.
And Lazenby shows Jim Kelly a bunch of photos of the cop who got his neck slashed by Tutupa, and Jim Kelly immediately recognizes this is the work of the Pilu cult of Haiti, because they wear their ring on the little pinky finger, and you can see he slashed him with his left hand, and it's just like he immediately knows everything just by looking at like this photo for like 2 seconds, because he's Jim fucking Kelly, goddammit. He knows he's got the sauce.
I love how George Lazenby asks him like 3 separate times, how do you know it's a Haitian guy? And he's like, take a look here, Chief. See, he strikes from left to right. That means he's left-handed. And
okay, but why is he Haitian?
Well,
Yeah.
you see, left to right means that he would have to. Yeah, but why Haitian? Yeah.
The man had to have large hands. Plus, it's a very neat job. Has to be done by an expert.
So we check out all martial art experts in Nevada.
All Haitian martial art experts.
Educate me.
Okay. The man who did this job was wearing a ring on the little finger of his left hand.
And that makes him Haitian.
Okay, stay with me, Tom. The gash is from left to right. It makes the killer left-handed. Look at this scrape. In the beginning of a small welt. The neck has been scraped by a ring.
But why Haitian?
Look at the finger imprints on the neck. The ring was on the little finger.
Left hand.
Right.
Why Haitian?
And now that George Lazenby is in this movie, he doesn't have to pretend to have a British accent, so he's largely talking with like his muted Australian accent here.
Yeah.
He's kind of doing like a little bit of like an American thing.
Sure,
But
Shows that he has range.
Even as Bond, you can definitely tell what region of the world he was from.
You're right. So just before he goes on to the mission, Jim Kelly goes to his 70s pad, hangs out with his beautiful 70s wife.
Wife/girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm not sure this character is ever given a name.
Nope. He has a nice healthy drink of malt liquor and health drinks.
He drinks like fresh. He says he drinks fresh squeezed orange juice, but then he drinks that at the same time as a glass of malt liquor.
Just like his grandpa did,
absolutely.
who lived to be 107.
107. He drank malt liquor every day. And
So that's the secret, folks.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely wrote that down too. I'm all like, 2 drinks. Ooh.
Yep. Now, at this point, after he makes sweet 70s love to his 70s girlfriend, bunch of... By the way, I'm just going to say, I love the fucking 70s aesthetic.
Oh, man.
This movie's like chock full of 70s cars, 70s fashion, 70s music.
It's not an aesthetic. It's just how it looked.
Yeah,
It's just how
that was
everything
just how it was, baby.
You walked outside and it would be all like, oh, shit, the aesthetic of everything is great.
Yeah, sideburns everywhere. And bell bottoms, forget about it.
Oh, sideburns and bell bottoms on a dog? What?
That's the order of the day.
Yeah.
So 2 thugs break into his place.
As soon as these guys came on screen, I wrote down Bigfoot hunter and former child star. That was the first thought that popped into my head. Because the one guy absolutely has, like, the little guy has, like, Haley Joel Osment face, where, like, you can tell that he used to be a child actor, but for some reason, this never grew along with the rest of his body.
Yeah.
So his face looks like he's, like, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then, the other guy just looks like he should be wearing denim and carrying a fucking assault rifle.
He has a fucking roadie for Eagles or whatever.
Yeah.
So, they break into his house, and I'm just like, are these random thieves? And then we find out that after Jim Kelly kicks their ass, that no, they're working for the pig. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, so the fucking chief's in on it. He's on the take.
Oh, you clued in that early.
How else is the pig supposed to know that Jim Kelly's on the case early?
I will be. I mean, that makes perfect sense now that you say it out loud like that. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Jameson. I wasn't thinking that hard about the sense behind this movie. Kind of like midway through this movie. The observation I made is that this really has like the structure of like a side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah.
Like it's River City Ransom, the movie. Basically what this is. Jim Kelly does like a thing for like 5 minutes, and then a group of thugs show up and he has to fight them.
Yeah.
And then he does another thing, and then a group of thugs show up and he has to fight them. I wasn't really thinking about where the thugs were coming from.
Well, I mean, like, you can be forgiven for thinking of that because that was the order of the day for 70s exploitation films, where it's like every scene is an excuse for another action scene. And you don't have to have any rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah.
You're not going to these kind of movies for plot.
Your thing is you were thinking of rhyme and reason, and I wasn't even considering that. I just kind of assumed, like the pig had his snout all over the place. He had, his tendrils spread wide.
Hell, they could have just been unrelated robbers,
Why not?
Coming to prowl the
it's
place.
a dangerous city, Los Angeles, in the 70s.
Yeah, thank God Jim Kelly's on the case there.
He's here now, right?
Yeah, and I love how he dispatches one of the goons by, like, tying him up, into like
he's about to pull a Batman. He's about to hold him over the side.
Yeah.
Swear to me!
He grabs, like, a closing line and just, like, strings him up and dangles him over the building.
Except instead of swear to me, he says, "Who sent you, sucker?"
Yeah.
And then, of course, it being the 70s, as he walks away, leaving the guy dangling over the edge, he says, "Hang in there, baby."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This movie movie rules.
Love it, love it.
Oh.
So we cut immediately from a sweet 70s kung fu scene to a sweet 70s car chase.
Almost immediately.
Between a 70s Caddy and a Corvette or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it seems like on its own, the fucking Cadillac just runs off the road itself.
It runs off the road, and then like the guy escapes from the car, and Jim Kelly goes after him on foot.
Yeah.
And the guy leads Jim Kelly to like this big clearing or whatever, and then he kind of stops and turns around. And he's all like, "Whoa, hold on!"
Yeah.
And I started writing, "Well, this car hit is clearly gone." And then as I'm writing the word go, I was about to write wrong. The guy's all like, "Welcome to the party, baby."
Yeah.
And then it turns out this was the guy's plan the entire time, because he's got like 5 or 6 other guys hide behind trees with katanas
and nunchucks
and like iron bars and stuff and whatever. And as I'm writing, "Oh, this car hit has gone wrong," like my pen is on the paper, and I just go like ... right?
Has gone exceptionally well.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Yep. And all of a sudden, Jim Kelly just has nunchucks.
Yeah.
Don't know where he got those from.
He just always has them.
Doesn't matter.
They're standard police issue from the LAPD in the 70s.
Yeah, and he takes out all of these guys in a fight scene that starts awesome. I will admit, by the end, it gets a little silly. He gets a little cartoon. It gets a little cartoony near the end, where he's like knocking guys' heads together like coconuts.
When someone's down on the ground, he like 2-footed jumps on their chest. Yeah.
I mean, that guy ain't getting up.
He's
after that. No, his lung is collapsed at that point. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, they can't get over on Detective Ash. They fucking got him in the woods.
Yeah.
But didn't fucking matter.
So he decides to fly to the last known whereabouts of the pig, which is in Reno, which is not that far away from LA. He could have easily driven there in a day.
I wrote down here because I noted that the plane that he gets on was a Pacific Southwest flight, and back in the 70s, they designed their planes to have like little smiles in the front when they took off. So I just wrote down, planes used to smile.
Yeah, and they used to have just nice orange and brown trim on it.
And you could smoke an entire pack of cigarettes and no one would bat an eye at you.
That's right, yeah.
Get a steak dinner.
Condom machines in the lavatory.
So yeah, he flies down to Reno, and we see like a really cool shot of just like the actual like Reno Strip circa like this time of day. Like obviously this isn't like set dressing or anything like that.
No,
like,
that's just how it was.
This is what was going on. We have like we got like a snapshot back into like a 1970s like whatever, where like the Reno Strip, we saw the Jerry Sun Show and Jessica.
That's right.
Was playing. Like who could have imagined
the famous Horseshoe Casino and just like shot.
Who's the guy Nelson loves in The Simpsons when they have to stop and they have to...
Andy Williams.
Andy Williams!
Yeah.
Sorry, that just made me think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, guerrilla filmmaking shot on location, so you get a bunch of onlookers looking into the camera.
Yeah.
And
Is that Jim Kelly? Oh, shit.
Yeah, oh, shit,
yeah, and he flies down to Reno, and he has the most awkwardly shot introduction of Myron Bruce Lee playing the role of Lee, who is another...
He was supposed to be Bruce Lee, I imagine.
He's supposed to be Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee would have turned this down. There's nothing in this movie for him to do.
He would insist on playing the Jim Kelly part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very clearly like two actors in two completely different locations. The scenes are just spliced together. It's Jim Kelly on a payphone, and he's saying like, "Hey Lee, how's it going? Any news about our old friend the pig?" And then it cuts back to Lee sitting on his bed. He goes, "He stinks. I hate him. He's no good. I can't wait to work on this case with you." He's all like, "Yes, it'll be good. All right, we'll see you in a few scenes from now." And that's it. That's our introduction to Lee. It's so bad.
I know.
It's so
and yet
shitty.
I loved it.
It's great.
So...
Absolutely. I just love, how's our friend the pig?
Yeah.
What do you mean, how's our friend the pig? He's the villain we're trying to stop.
That's just how like cool cops in the 70s used to talk, right?
Sure.
You dig?
Yeah. I dig you, baby.
Yeah. So they meet up at the pig's Bordello Ranch. The actual Mustang Ranch, which was this famous brothel in Nevada.
Oh, hey, there we go.
I mean, if you watch the trailer, they proudly advertised that it was shot on location with the actual prostitutes that work there.
What?
Yeah.
Filmed on location where they actually work and play. See the sensuous ladies of the Mustang Ranch. Meet the real girls at the world's most infamous den of iniquity.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I know.
That's cool as fuck.
Yeah. So when he goes through there and then all the gals are introducing themselves.
Those are
and
actual sex workers.
And there's the elderly madam there. And I'm like, yeah, this is their big break.
Well, now that was confusing too, because this introductory scene, there's the elderly madam, and then in the subsequent scenes, she's almost immediately replaced by this other madam who sticks around and has like actual dialogue, who's much younger.
And who I'm going to assume is an actual actress.
Is an actual actress, yes.
Right.
But yeah, no, there's this moment where like Jim Kelly goes in and all the girls kind of have like their...
I'm Giselle.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm Vanessa.
They go through, they name all their names, and I wrote down at the end, I like Rusty. I would have chosen Rusty. I would have had an evening with her.
Rusty?
Yeah, her name was Rusty. She was like the second to the end.
Oh, okay.
Rusty? I don't know. It was the 70s.
Okay. Are you sure it was Rusty?
It was Rusty. I went back. I went back and I got the name.
Yeah, and you're gonna check it out next time you're in Nevada.
He takes one of the... if it's still there, I have to imagine.
So
I'm just here because I'm a big fan of the film Death Dimension.
Yeah.
I want to go on the Death Dimension tour.
Yeah. What was Jim Kelly
here.
like?
They're still there. You just go to the oldest lady in there.
It'll be Dusty.
Dusty.
Oh, I mean,
God.
I want to go on the Death Dimension tour when you're on a board. When you're at a board. Come on, man.
That would be great. You know what? I'm gonna move to Reno and make the Death Dimension tour.
So, I mean, he's not there to sleep with a prostitute. That's just his ploy to get in there and start snooping around for the location of the pig.
Yeah. There's a very funny moment where he goes into the room with the sex worker and he's all like, "Hey, what can this give me?" And he gives her some money. So technically, he is soliciting, but we'll look past that because it's the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
But she like turns around. She's all like, "Oh, this will get you a bunch." And then when he turns around, he's gone like Batman.
Yeah.
Like, he fully just pulls like a Batman on her.
Sure, yeah.
But this is completely fruitless because he's outside the room for like 2 seconds, and then a security guard shows up.
Kicks him out.
And it's just all like, "You're not supposed to be here." And he immediately gives up. He's just all like, "Okay, I'll leave."
Yeah, that was all of the time they had to shoot inside because...
I mean, there is a moment
hey,
where...
Mustang Ranch, it's a place of business. All right?
There is a moment where he opens a door and all of the other girls that he passed over are in a hot tub with one man.
Yeah.
Who I thought maybe was coming back. I thought maybe he'd be like a secondary villain.
That's not Mr. Verdi, is it?
That's not Mr. Verde. Okay, no, that's not. I don't think so.
Who's the character that's coming up? But you know, I mean,
that's such an important character.
That entire sequence was just like huge advertisement for the fucking Mustang Ranch.
It made me want to go.
Yeah. So yeah, Jim Kelly sneaks around the back, which is not guarded. He's able to leap the fence, even though like in plain view of a fucking watchtower. And he gets a couple of paces in before he's surrounded by a bunch of goons in nylon masks, and then we get another fucking fight sequence.
Yeah. Yep. It took me it took me a couple of minutes before I realized all of the goons were wearing pantyhose on their heads. All I noticed is that one of them had it on, and I didn't notice that all of them were wearing it. So there's like this one moment where I'm all like, "Fuck, it is like fucking Final Fight or whatever." Because you know how you're punching all of these dudes, and then every once in a while there'll just be like one weird guy. There'll just be like one person who doesn't like fit with everyone else or whatever.
This was
they'll have like a head that's just like a perfect triangle or whatever, and I'm just all like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then I realized, oh no, they're all hiding their identity.
You just saw what you wanted to see.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Did you... this is a weird thing here, but like, as he's climbing this fence, I jotted down in my notes that they very clearly must have been using like live Foley. Like obviously they're capturing the sound of what was happening on the day.
Oh yeah.
Even though a lot of this movie is ADR, obviously, like
they didn't have a Foley room.
People are entirely dubbed. So as he's climbing this fence, I jotted down in my notes, there is this one quail that does not give a fuck that they are filming a movie right here. Because Jim Kelly is trying to like climb this fence, and in the background here, and then the bad guys show up and they start fighting, and you can still hear in the background, I grew up with like quail like in my backyard, so I've heard that fucking noise
Sure.
constantly.
And this is like PTSD for you?
I just think it's so funny that they were shooting that one day. It's all like, okay, we only got like so much film. We can only like get so much before like the sun goes down.
Before the quail mating season
and
starts.
they're trying to film like this serious action scene or whatever. And I just love that there's just like this one bird who don't give a fuck. I'm gonna spoil every fucking take with my quail nonsense.
Spoil or enhance.
Oh, or
because
make it better.
Yeah, left an impression on you.
But then, spoiler alert, jumping ahead, the quail comes back.
Oh.
I kept noticing that fucking quail over and over again. So maybe it was a canned sound effect. Maybe it actually was like someone in the editing room trying to add like ambiance or whatever, because there are quails all over this fucking movie. If that's the case, they can't get the quail fucking followed them,
so it's
followed
just
them to different locations or whatever.
Yeah, so just like whatever kind of tape they had for nature sounds.
Yeah,
just
like
it was near a big quail's
one loud
flock.
quail.
Yeah.
All right.
So during this fight, Myron Bruce Lee shows up and he pitches in.
I mean, like it's literally like a side-scrolling video game, because this guy shows up and
Player 2.
Yeah, Player 2 has entered the game.
Yeah.
And he jumps in the middle of and he does the final fight, the double dragon thing, where he picks up a garbage can and he puts it over the head of one of the guys.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm all like, that's straight out of Nintendo. Come on.
For sure.
Or I guess Nintendo probably took it from them. I have to imagine.
Hell, like Severance took from this movie, Final Fight took from this movie.
All right, I'll watch Severance. God, it's only like the most popular show on television right now. Fine.
Whoa. Okay.
All right. I pay for
check
Apple TV Plus every week and never watch any of their original programming. Okay, I'll watch Severance.
All right, that's a free plug and a recommendation for Severance.
They
everyone.
need it. Apple TV Plus is hemorrhaging money because they have all these great shows that no one fucking watches because they refuse to spend $1 on advertising. Anyway.
So Jim Kelly grabs one of the goons in the dick and asks him, "Where's the pig?" Which is a thing, you don't want to be asked that when someone's grabbing your dick.
It's in your hands, big boy. Oh,
I'll settle for the pork.
That's the hog. That's the hog.
Yeah.
And yeah, at some point in time, like I don't know if it's this guy or whatever, but like he punches a guy like really hard, and then when the guy falls down on the ground, he just starts convulsing.
Yeah.
Like he full on gives someone like a brain aneurysm.
Yeah.
Like we see it in real time where the guy's just like it looks violent.
Is that the guy who they chuck into a tree and then he like spits out blood?
Yeah.
And then he convulses?
I think that's it too. Yeah. They kill the fuck out of these guys. They really do.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the goons reveals that the pig is actually at the lake. So Jim Kelly and Myron Bruce Lee secure a boat somehow, and now they're on a lake somehow.
And the music playing this boat chase scene is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I rewound it and recorded it because I loved it so much.
I'll pump it in. That's just them pulling up to the fucking dock.
I mean, I'm beating a dead horse here, but like, again, that sounds like the soundtrack to a video game.
Yeah.
I'm not even being slightly ironic. I love the music in this
Oh,
movie.
yeah. Man, the opening credits tune is just, I threw up Shazam. I wanted to know if I could get the name of this track.
The final confrontation between him and Oddjob has like kind of like this jazzy little piano number that kind of contradicts the action we're seeing, but it also weirdly kind of works. Like it really like underscores the scene really well.
They knew what they were doing back then.
It was just like one guy with a Casio keyboard and a drummer.
Who needs Hans Zimmer when you just get like a guy with a drum kit?
It actually was Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
No, it was a guy. It was Steve
Salmon or whatever.
Steve Salmon.
Keeping up with the alliteration here. So they dock the boat. They have another kung fu fight with people. Those guys get onto a boat and then they're back on the fucking water. Having a sweet kung fu boat chase.
Yes, they broke up boat. They broke up a boat chase with a kung fu fight.
Yeah.
But and now back to our boat chase already in progress. Yeah. So during this time, Felicia comes back into the plot.
Before we, I just wanted to say that this boat fight ends when they dispatch of all the bad guys, and then at one point, Jim Kelly says, "Well, at least we found out the pig's in L.A." When did they fucking learn that piece of information? I don't think they ever got that out of one of the goons.
Because didn't the goons say he was on the lake?
They said he was on the lake. Now they're on the lake, and then they said, well, at least we know he's in L.A.
I don't think they meant he was literally on the lake, like he was on like a pontoon or something.
I guess so.
Just like,
But no,
he's just cut to Harold Sakata in like a life vest.
No.
Hello.
So essentially, like Jim Kelly left L.A. to go to Reno to kick the ass of some random people, and then he's back in L.A.
Yeah,
That's it.
doesn't matter.
If he had just stayed in L.A., he probably could have caught up to the big by now.
Well,
Oh.
we had to pay for that Pacific Western airline sponsorship. Yeah, absolutely. Had to get that flying plane in there. Okay. So Felicity comes back. So she has tracked down Dr. Mason's daughter. She has gone to the house of Dr. Mason's daughter. She knocks on the door. This interaction really made me laugh. I don't know about you, but it was just there's so many there's so many dumb cheesy things that happen in this movie that warrant like gales of laughter. Just something about like this very basic interaction between these two women. So she like knocks on the door, the woman enters, and Felicia says, "Hello, I'm looking for Joan Mason." "Yes." "Joan Mason?" "Yes." It's just like, get it together, lady. Come on.
Yes. Hello, I'm looking for Joan Mason.
Yes.
Joan Mason?
Yes, I'm her. Won't you come in?
Thank you. You must be Felicia Roberts. Yes, that's right.
I'm so glad you found me.
Yeah.
So she's gone to Dr. Mason's daughter, presumably to hand over the micro dot that's in her head. But almost immediately, she recognizes that this woman is a plant, that she's not really Dr. Mason's daughter.
She correctly deduces that, hey, this woman who lives in L.A. is way too tanned.
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah.
She even says, "It's all like, oh yeah, like I like to sunbathe a lot lately.
In Palm Springs,
Palm Springs,
even though the beach is right there. Yeah, I like the desert, which is where the pig hangs out in.
I mean, she could have gotten a tan anyway. It's Los Angeles. You can get a tan in Los Angeles.
Absolutely, it's sunny fucking all the time.
But
there.
she like walked in and she's all like, "This is a Nevada tan."
Yeah.
I can tell because I'm a scientist
who just spent a lot of time in Nevada.
I get
the tans are different over there.
Absolutely, the sun's rays hit you differently down there. I don't know. I can't. I have no explanation for this whatsoever.
No, not at all.
But they needed a reason for her to escape because yes, this woman goes into the back and there's goons in the kitchen.
Yep.
But Felicia realizes this, and so she gets away. She runs away, and she goes to a phone booth, and she calls General Jameson, who's out of the office.
That's right.
He's never there when you need him.
The elusive General Jameson. We will never see this character. We will never know this character.
But the lady on the other end of the phone says, you could probably try Captain Gallagher. We know he's around because he's been in several scenes at this point.
Yes, right. Yeah.
So you can, at the very least, call
a character we've been introduced
George Lazenby.
Yeah.
And she says, okay. And she hands up the phone. And she turns around. And Tatupa is directly...
Somehow there.
He's right there behind her.
Yeah, he found her.
Yeah, and he's just all like... Because, there was a brief scene earlier where he and the pig were driving around in a limo, just going all like, where's that girl? We gotta find that girl. And then, like, 2 scenes later, he just finds her. Just finds her on the street.
Fucking second biggest city in America. And they just...
Wasn't fucking hard at all. Yeah.
There she is.
Trying to find a white lady in Los Angeles. Yep, no problem here. And there's a bit of a tussle, and he chases her into...
Well, he chases her, like, around a block or whatever, and she's saved by this... crazy green car driver who's just recklessly driving out of an alleyway, and he hits Tatupo. And that's what allows her to get away.
It's one of those things where you're parked in an alley and you're about to drive out of it. You're about to ignite. That's not the right word, is it?
Accelerate?
Accelerate! Thank you. I've been driving my entire life. Yeah, you're about to accelerate out of this.
I mean, I should know. I drove you here earlier today.
Jameson drove me here. You're about to accelerate out of it. And then this lady runs by, almost as if she's being chased by someone, and you let her go by. It's like, all right, the lady who's being chased is gone. Now I can accelerate because clearly there's no one behind her.
That was a thing in some beat 'em up arcade game, wasn't there? If you stand too close to the alleyway, vroom, car comes out.
Sure, yeah,
and then
definitely.
backs out, and then vroom, goes through again.
Well, Simpsons arcade game.
That's the one I'm thinking.
If you go up to the storefronts or whatever, someone would open the door and smush you or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
But yeah, this fucking crazy reckless driver hits the Tupou.
But he saves the day.
He saves the day
so,
inadvertently.
Hey, reckless driving ended up saving the day for this one person. And then Felicia is wandering around downtown LA in
kaleidoscope vision
for some reason.
Because it's artsy and it's meant to invoke that she's paranoid and in a strange town and
generally
doesn't know who to trust.
From this era of cinema, when you employed like camera tricks like this, it was meant to employ that the character was under some sort of like
distress or a drug trip.
Or drug influence or something like this. Like she's like just dropped acid or something.
Yeah.
But no, she's just she escaped from a harrowing situation and it's really affecting her apparently because everything's all
wonky and everything.
Shapes and colors all of a sudden here.
Yeah, well, it's artsy that way.
Right. And Tupou, I guess, gives up on, what's her name? Felicia.
Yeah. Well, because we cut to Jim Kelly's girlfriend who's waking up. I noticed that she has a framed headshot of Jim Kelly next to her bedside.
Look, wouldn't you? Not even if you were sleeping with Jim Kelly, just if you knew him. Wouldn't you have a framed photo of that man on your bedside?
If I knew him?
If I personally knew Jim Kelly, I'd be all like, here's my apartment, here's my bedroom and my kitchen, here's my framed photo of Jim Kelly.
Maybe if I had like a home gym, I'd have like a poster of him or whatever, but like not by my bedside.
Well,
I don't need to invoke that comparison when I got a lady over.
different strokes.
Yeah.
I just like looking at him.
He's a good looking cat. I'll give him that. Yeah.
Well, I meant when I'm in bed with a lady, I like looking at him.
Okay. Yeah. To put you in the mood.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So she has a shower, and that's when Tupou goes and catches her. Has a little psycho moment.
It's a real psycho moment. Look. I'm giving this movie way too much credit. Maybe it's just the fact that the shower scene from Psycho has been dissected and talked about like for years over and over again. Everyone's very familiar with it. There was something a little more viscerally terrifying about this shower scene than the Alfred Hitchcock classic. It's just so violent and shocking, and the actress is so vulnerable and like actually scared in this moment. I'm not saying it's better than Psycho. I'm just saying that moment.
It's less artsy
well
for sure. So maybe that lends a little bit more credibility.
You actually do see her naked body. That is the main difference because this is the obligatory shower scene.
Right.
And yes, in the next scene, she is being wheeled out of the morgue, and Jim Kelly and Myron Bruce Lee and George Lazenby are all there, and Jim Kelly pulls the sheet back on her dead body, and we can see that her throat's been slit by Tupou, and they capture this by taking some delicious Arby's roast beef and putting it right on her neck. It's just a handful of luncheon meat, and they put it on her.
It was not a good makeup job.
It's not a good makeup job.
Not at all.
At all. Whoever did that was not factoring in that this was a black actress, and they needed to shade the makeup much differently than the way they did, because it stands out so much. But yes, this poor woman, who knows what her name was, but she's dead. Jim Kelly, really broken up by it.
Yeah, he mourns the loss of it and then immediately gets into another fucking 70s car chase.
This guy can't catch a fucking break. He's in the middle of mourning his lady love or whatever, and then this car just
drives by, shoots at him.
Yeah. And he's in it again. He's in another firefight again.
Yeah, chases after that.
Can't get a fucking second to himself here. Can't even get a sandwich.
Yeah. So at this point, we meet up with the pig and his, I guess, potential buyer for the freeze bomb, Mr. Verdi.
Mr. Verde, who's played by an actor named Aldo Ray, who briefly was a leading man in like the 50s. He did like movies with like Judy Holliday and stuff. Oh. Yeah. And now
the name weirdly sounds familiar.
Aldo Ray. Yeah. It's kind of like one of those like old Hollywood names.
I can't place anything I would have seen him in, but
you know, like it's weird, man. Like, the same thing happened to me. Like, when I heard the name, I'm all like, that name sounds familiar. And then I looked up his filmography, and nothing sprung to mind.
Yeah.
So I guess he's just one of those names that kind of, like, bums around. But anyway, he used to be the lead of movies, and now he is playing the role of guy who's waiting in brothel.
Yep.
Because that's all he does.
Fuck. Every scene with this guy, he's just arguing in circles with Oddjob. They had an agreement for him to buy the bomb, but now Oddjob has more interested buyers who are outbidding him. And he says, no, we had a promise. Well, I need to see the money. I don't have the money. Well, you won't get the bomb until I see the money. All right, here's the money. Well, we have other bidders. Well, we had an agreement, and it's just over and over and over again with this guy.
And Faraday's like, it's like, I've agreed to pay you what you said you want for the bomb. I'm going to pay you $30 million. And my first thought was like, this guy has $30 million?
Yeah.
He is not dressed like he has $30 million.
No, I mean, well, it's like fucking Palm Springs or whatever,
I
right?
suppose,
So like
yeah.
he just came from the golf course. He also mentions that he's like representing like interested buyers, but he always refers to him as his country.
Yeah.
But he sounds fucking American.
I know.
So either he's representing Canada or like, like where the fuck is this guy from?
What? If anyone's going to have a freeze bomb, it should be Canada.
It should be Canada.
It should be Canada. We know snow down here. We understand. We understand how it works.
Up here.
Up here, that's right. No, we're not really downhill from anywhere unless you're in Alaska.
There you go. Yeah,
I'm talking to our Alaskan viewers.
That's right.
Yes.
All one of you.
Yes, but he keeps saying like, it's all like, yes, the people of my country. I'm here representing my country. It's like, America?
Yeah.
Oh, why did you just call it the United States or whatever?
You know, Massachusetts isn't a fucking country.
And the pig is all like, you'll get the bomb, but maybe it won't be exclusive anymore because I have a bead on the blueprints. I don't know where the blueprints are, but I know who knows where the blueprints are, and I'm gonna get her any second here.
Yeah.
Why don't you just sit here with what I'm learning are actual real life sex workers who are being paid
to just like be set dressing,
just hang out, and look bored.
And like, you sure you don't want us to do anything?
They're not even like playing cards or like passing the time.
They're like filing their nails and shit, and like
there's like one of many scenes where Aldo Ray is just like killing time with all of these ladies, and then like a John comes in, he's all like, "Hey, you'll do," and it's all like, did that actually happen? Was that an actor, or was that just like a guy?
They just caught a guy walking on camera.
He didn't even see the camera.
Leave it in the movie. It's realism.
It's good. It's cinema verite.
That scene ends with the pig talking to the younger madame.
The younger madame.
Yeah,
yes.
And he just says something about like, your latest round of girls have been disappointing to me. And also, Tatupo needs to get laid. So he's trying to wingman for him.
He's trying to wingman. And then the madam says, I wouldn't give one of my girls to that ape. And I immediately said, hey, don't do that. Don't do that.
Ooh, yeah.
Tatupo responds by spitting on her floor, which is very rude. Not nice of him. But still, you know, choose your insults more carefully, lady.
Sure, yeah.
So Felicia calls the cops. She finally gets a hold of Captain Gallagher. And I'm stupid at this point, and I'm all like, well, this will be good for her.
Yeah.
Because George Lazenby's an upstanding gentleman. I didn't fucking piece it together at all.
Yeah. So she's camped out at this one hotel room. She tells him where to meet him. But Tatupo gets there first, and she gives chase, like heads out the fire escape, and he has a fight with Jim Kelly.
Now, this is something that I actually thought was like kind of like a minor miracle in this movie. There's like a moment that I clocked that I thought was pretty incredible. A big gripe that I have been having lately with the state of modern movie going is, for some reason, we seem to have forgotten how to light movies properly.
Yeah.
Movies are much darker these days. We have moved into this era of like realism, and by realism that means that nighttime scenes are dark, and they are shot the way that they would look in real life. And we used to be able to like suspend our disbelief to a certain degree, so we could still at the same time see what is going on in this movie. And what's incredible is Felicia is in her apartment. She hears Tatupo coming in, like he's knocking on the door or whatever. She shuts the lights off. There's like a moment of darkness, and then the lighting adjusts so that it's visible. Like it's like it's notably darker or whatever, but like I can immediately see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And it's just like, even in this shitty, dumb fucking kung fu Bruce-sploitation flick, we still knew how to light shit back then.
Yeah.
And it was so refreshing.
And I think they had to do that because there's going to be a fight scene in this darkened room. So you got to be able to tell what's going on.
Very important to know who's hitting who.
So good on you, Al.
Good on you, Al.
That's something you picked up from your Frankenstein versus Dracula
flick. Going, thank you. From beyond the grave, my soul can't rest. I'm beneath the hot tub.
All right, so throughout all of this, Felicia winds up getting kidnapped anyways, and she's taken to the pig's compound. They're interrogating her on where the microdot is. She's not going to talk, so he says, we have ways of making you talk. Tatupo, fetch me the box.
Anything could be in this box. Yeah. You have no idea what could be in this box.
Never...
Well, actually, there is a little bit of foreshadowing because as Blofeld has his white Persian cat that he always strokes, the pig has a pet as well, and it's a pet turtle.
That's right.
He's
it's a little box turtle.
It's a little box turtle. Yeah. But like this is like what he's into. He likes having like turtles as pets.
Yeah.
And what's in here in the box is
a snapping turtle.
A pissed off looking snapping turtle.
Like a fucking vicious looking snapping turtle.
Did not look happy to being handled in this movie.
Well,
didn't want to be involved.
They're carrying it by the fucking tail. Yeah, that thing's gonna be pissed the fuck off. So they
spent all day inside a styrofoam container.
So they're just like dangling this snapping turtle over the screaming woman, and she, screams her head off until she passes out.
And then the pig's all like, well, we can't get any information out of her with that. And then the scene ends, and supposedly they put the turtle back in the box. But I'm all like, I'm not trying to advocate torture here, but like, I don't know, maybe like slap her around a little bit. I don't know. There's ways you can wake her up. Pretty sure if you let the turtle bite down on her, she'd wake up from that.
Yeah.
I know, he gives up way too easily here.
Which I'm grateful for, because like fucking snapping turtles are no joke. They'll take a person's hand right off.
Absolutely, yeah. I love James Haan's entire delivery here. A great James Hahn delivery where they get Felicia or whatever, and he's all like, Felicia, so good to see you. Welcome. Oh, I gotta make sure I do
At
it
one
right
point
here.
he says like, I won't stand for it.
Yeah. Well, he goes like, welcome, how are you? How do you do it here? What did you do with the secret formula? Like he just does that great James Hahn thing where he just like makes like 10 words into like a single syllable. Like he just says it like all at once too. And I know that he's had like a long and illustrious career. I don't want to boil him down to just like one role or whatever, but it is very weird hearing the Goose Dad from Kung Fu Panda saying, the snapping turtle will bite your tits off.
Yeah. You're gonna wish you were flat-chested.
Yeah.
Some of the 70s.
He's great when he plays bad guys.
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't do it enough these days, but he's just a... And what we forgot to mention is that, like Felicia goes to this place under the orders of... No. What happens is she gets kidnapped by the pig. Oh, I'm jumping the gun. Okay, so she faints after the snapping turtle incident.
Yeah.
And then when she wakes up, she ekes her way over to a telephone.
Yeah, it's a rotary phone, but she manages to dial it with like a pen in her mouth or what have you.
Yeah, it's very ingenious of her. And she calls Captain George Lazenby and she says, I'm here. I'm at this address. Please help me. I'm very scared. You can tell the actress playing this is very nervous about what's happening right now. It's not a great performance. But what do you want? Yeah, exactly.
And then save me, James Bond. And so he springs into action.
Right.
Yeah. And
then he rescues her, and then he's all like, yeah, the pig's in the next room getting arrested right now. By the way, what happened to that secret blueprint thing? Like,
I guess I can trust you because you
are
saved
James
me.
Bond. Absolutely, you saved me. Yeah.
And that's when he reveals that he's on the take. Opens the door, and there's Oddjob waiting for her.
So, I wrote down I'll be perfectly honest. I had a few libations while I was watching this movie. So around this point in time, I wrote down 5 notes in very quick succession when George Lazenby walks into the room. Lazenby just shows up. Is he in on it? Oh, he's in on it. Lazenby heel turn. He's the pig's boy. I just read that this morning. I'm like, the fuck was I saying?
Right around the time, the pig's boy.
He's the pig's boy.
I mean, the scene where they're checking out Jim Kelly's girlfriend in the morgue or whatever, I just wrote down, Chief better be in on this for any of this to make sense.
Yeah, he's gonna have to retire after this because
Yeah, because he doesn't alert Jim Kelly or anyone about that. But Jim Kelly and Bruce Myron Lee just kind of piece together that, like, well, let's check out the pig's compound one more time.
Sure, why not?
Why the fuck
There's
not?
like 3 locations in this movie. Let's go back to that one.
And then when they go up to his place and they see the chief's car there, there's Jim Kelly says, "I knew it. It was either going to be you, Myron Lee, the captain, or me." Let the pig know he was going.
And I don't think it was me.
Pretty sure it wasn't me.
I love that he pieces it together just by seeing the captain's car. He doesn't have any follow-up questions or anything like that. The captain's not following a lead or anything like that. It's all like, nope, he's immediately in on the take.
Yep.
I mean, he's right. He was right. And so they break in and get another kung fu
they
fight.
said, why did the chief do something like this? And they said, well, money has strange appeal to people because these guys are all about virtue and justice and all
They're
that.
not wrong. Money does have a strange appeal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I have money and then I can buy things.
Exactly. It can be used for exchanging for goods and services.
I can see that.
Yep. So they bust into the compound. One goon is making out with a bunch of prostitutes. The other one's just watching Mr. Faraday. And they hold them all at gunpoint. George Lazenby, it kind of goes down like a chump a little bit. Like, there's a fight between him and Myron Bruce Lee.
I think Tatupo throws a knife at Jim Kelly and he steps out of the way and the madam gets knifed in the fucking chest and she goes down that way.
Yeah.
I think Myron Lee just kind of like smashes George Lazenby once in the jaw and he's down for like the time being.
And then he goes like running through the house. He climbs to like the second, set of staircase and then leaps down a couple of flights like my cousins and I used to do back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's George Lazenby and Bruce Myron Lee having a fight in the backyard. And he jobs really fucking hard to Myron Bruce Lee. This is not a good George Lazenby showcase.
He's here for the laughs and he's here for the fun, and I guess he's here to honor the memory of his friend.
By elevating someone else who is like trying to usurp him, I guess.
I suppose, yeah.
It's not great. It's not a great.
But this all ends with George Lazenby getting kicked into a pool, and then like an electrical cord, which I guess has an exposed wire, also falls into the pool, so he gets electrocuted.
I mean, I rewound it a little bit. For some fucking reason, seconds before Myron Bruce Lee kicks him
Just
into
call
the pool.
him not Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Seconds before not Bruce Lee kicks him, George Lazenby does pick up an exposed wire so he can fall backwards into the pool with the exposed wire.
Which was just there.
Yeah.
Which was just on the pig's back lawn.
Yeah.
For reasons. For death reasons, one assumes. Yes. And then George Lazenby enters the death dimension.
That's right. There he does.
Which was a running joke that I forgot that I was doing.
So Tatupo and Oddjob, they run to this one gondola that's kind of just in the neighborhood. And as fortune would have it, after they embark on the gondola tour up the mountain, a helicopter conveniently shows up for Jim Kelly to take.
This fucking helicopter just showed. At this point in time, I'm just like, okay, now it's just Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
Now it's just Grand Theft Auto with like the cheats turned on.
Yeah.
Because like Jim Kelly didn't call for this helicopter. He didn't call for backup or whatever. He just goes outside and a helicopter with pilot is waiting for him.
Yep.
Even for this movie, this kind of stretches the imagination a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, it doesn't fucking matter.
No, the pilot just like sensed that there was trouble and that he was needed.
And then it cuts to like this empty stretch of Nevada desert where Oddjob and Tutuko are running around on the ground and Jim Kelly is chasing them, and then a real guy in a real helicopter is tossing what looks like real dynamite out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And what was that movie we watched together? We didn't do an episode on it, but what was that? Arena.
Oh yeah. I'd love to cover that someday.
Where I believe at near the end of it, I told you we used to make fucking cinema, man.
Yes. Yeah.
And I had the same thought for this too, where the guy's just tossing dynamite out of a moving helicopter.
Yeah.
At
just
real
airdrop
actors.
it. Yeah.
And I'm just all like, you only have one take to get it right because we only have so much helicopter. It's just like we used to make fucking cinema, dude.
And I'm just like. Whose side is this guy on? Because like they're exploding in close proximity to both the hero and the villain. Who's he trying to help out here?
As long as we get one of them,
Hey,
it
there's
doesn't really matter.
there's fucking one point where it looks like Jim Kelly is springboarding off a landmine, and I'm like,
Yep.
good fucking Christ.
I would buy it.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything in this movie to prove that he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
How does Tatupo die? I actually forgot.
Jim
about
Kelly punches him off a mountain.
that. Right. They have like I mean, that's how you do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
they have like a pretty good like fight and whatever.
There's
and
like
then,
a good tit-a-tap between them where like Jim Kelly's got a handgun on him and it says like, I'm gonna blow your brains out, and Tatupo says, everybody's got to someday. What?
Everybody has to blow your brains out someday.
I guess so.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but Tatupo gets got, and then it's the final. It's your main event between Jim Kelly and Oddjob.
Pig versus Ash.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which involves Oddjob getting a couple of good hits on him. Like I think he has like a clear muscle advantage on the guy.
Sure. There's like one moment where they're like wrestling on the ground, and then like Harold Sakata picks up like a rock to like smash over his head, and I just started laughing like crazy because it's not even that big of a rock.
Nope.
It's just like it would hurt, but
it's not gonna kill him.
Yeah, you could walk that off, like
Yeah.
Sure, but he's just like he's holding it over his head, all triumphant, all like, "Haha, I have a small rock now."
Yeah. At one point, he fucking headbutts him in the gut.
Yeah.
So yeah, a good mixture of awesome kung fu and just like barroom brawl tactics. Here.
Yeah, I take it Harold Sakata had his background in wrestling, of course, so he's more of a grappler.
Oh, I had no
to
idea.
begin with, yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah. Quite sad, Harold Sakata. Obviously, he never quite escaped the shadow of Oddjob. Basically everything he did referenced the fact that he played that role.
I mean, the fucking title for him in the credits is Harold Oddjob Sakata.
Yeah, they kept doing that over the course of his career. He never could escape it. Weeks before his death, he appeared on the I believe 1983 Academy Awards for one of the best original song. I believe it was For Your Eyes Only, which was nominated for an Oscar, and they did like that Oscar montage thing, and they actually convinced him to come on stage and dress in the Oddjob costume for like literally seconds. Like he's on there for like seconds, and then like a week later he died. So like he could never escape. Even near the end of his life, he could not escape this fucking role.
Well,
but he'll always be the pig to me.
He'll always be the pig. Yeah. I was just gonna say like even Sean Connery didn't like return to Bond in the final years of his life. So good on him for being a torchbearer for that franchise. Or, just working for man's got to eat.
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, like, Richard Kiel managed to be in other movies, and they didn't, like, put, like, metal teeth in his mouth or anything like that. Yeah.
All right, so just wrapping up here. The pig gets his goons to pick him up in, like, a small Cessna plane.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's the pig's plane that they're tossing dynamite out of. It's a small...
Jim Kelly's helicopter fucks off.
Yeah, the helicopter fucks off because he turned cheat mode off. But yes, no, it's the pig's men are trying to get Jim Kelly with the dynamite.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Pig says, "You'll never catch me alive, copper," and he hops into the Cessna plane. And they take off, and then Jim Kelly, armed with like just his little standard issue pistol, shoots the plane, and it explodes.
Plane explodes. Jim Kelly turns to the camera. He smiles. He jumps into the air. Freeze frame,
flying kick.
Credits, and I die laughing.
Yeah.
I laughed for like 6 minutes at this. Just more movies just need to. And look, like I love like a good epic movie. I love like a Lord of the Rings type situation. But there is something to be said about just ending your movie.
Abrupt ending. Abrupt to credits.
Of just being all like, that's it, we're done.
We're out of money.
That's all you get.
No closure on Myron Bruce Lee. No update on fucking Felicia.
Right? Yeah. I guess everyone just like left everyone back at the brothel. There's gonna
having
be
a grand old time.
There's gonna be a ton of paperwork to fill out because the captain of the police is dead and also was corrupt. So like there's gonna be like a whole bunch of like, but nope, jump into the air credits. That's all. We're good. We're out. We're out.
Yeah.
And I love it for it.
Yep. And everyone back in the 1970s walked out going, that fucking ruled. And they're doing like kung fu moves in the parking lot and everything. Because that's what fucking 70s kung fu exploitation was all about.
Times were simpler back then.
That's right.
Yes. I don't know how wide of a release this got. I have to imagine it played at like
drive-in.
Yeah, it was like a double bill at a drive-in with like another
sure.
Jim Kelly kung fu movie. I have to imagine. Like people probably watch this in between makeout sessions. Like I have to imagine like this wasn't like you didn't watch this the same way you watched like The Godfather Part 2.
Right.
But like
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of overlap between the two crowds for those movies, but
you never know.
All right, anything that we didn't bring up here?
Did you notice in the pig's office he
Yes, I
has,
did.
He has a painting of Oddjob.
Yes, I did.
Not of himself. It is specifically of the character Oddjob from the movie Goldfinger.
Because it's not a great painting, but it's
That's very
clear.
obvious what it is.
It's either Oddjob or fucking Mr. Fuji, but like, yeah, there's no other explanation. He has a painting of himself,
of his famous character that he even in this movie he can't escape from that.
That's
fucking
right.
thing.
After Jim Kelly's girlfriend is killed and he's on another fucking car chase, when they're peeling down the road, there's like a shot of an old lady at the end of the road who's just like caught on camera looking at like the drive-by going by. And I'm just like, bless you, 70s.
Bless you, guerrilla filmmaking.
Thank you. Yeah.
Not asking permission to be an extra in this movie. That was back in the day. You could just be an extra in a movie and not realize it for decades.
Yeah.
Not even know.
She was not credited. She was not paid. She didn't sign any waiver.
That guy that ran over Tutupo wasn't even like a guy. He was just like a guy who was just like backing out of the fucking alley or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's stories of that happening. I feel like famously, like, the French Connection has that great
car chase
that has like a moment where like a car crashes into that, and it's like that wasn't fucking scripted. That just happened, and they just left it in the fucking movie
because it was awesome.
Because it fucking ruled. Yeah, absolutely.
Instant production value.
And again, that was from the 70s, so like that's that era of fucking filmmaking. All right, Death Dimension. Jameson, does this movie have a certain something?
Yes.
Or does it have a certain something? I loved every second of this
was great.
Stupid fucking movie.
This was great. This was
Holy
great
shit.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's just it's a trip to just watch like a 70s exploitation kung fu movie. Like I'm always gonna have like a dumb grin on my face because like the action's gonna be phenomenal. The 70s aesthetic has a special place in my heart.
The score
fucking ruled.
Yeah.
I just love how scruffy everything looked.
Oh yeah, there's like cigarette burns and like pops and fizzles on the fucking
film grain,
film stock itself, where it's just all like that was the best take they had, and like the film was like a little bit wobbly, but whatever, we got to put it in the movie anyway.
I'm just a sucker for this kind of shut your brain off and enjoy it.
Sure, but that isn't to say that all of those movies are like unimpeachable. Sometimes you sit down for some of them, and sometimes they're boring as sin.
Right.
Sometimes they have like long stretches of nothing going on.
Sure.
This is like a fucking thrill-a-minute ride. Like every 5 minutes, goons are appearing out of nowhere and beating the shit out of them.
Never a dull moment.
No.
Always something kind of to grab your attention when there isn't a fight or a car chase going on.
Yeah. It's not that problematic.
No.
As far as like movies from like the 70s are.
Blessing in itself.
And
it's a nice reminder that just like fucking Jim Kelly was a fucking man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was great.
We'll have to give him a proper episode one day. I mean, like it is. We've been talking.
It'll be a lot like this one.
We talked about a Jim Kelly movie. We're doing like the classic thing where this is supposed to be a George Lazenby episode. And we talk about a movie that has a completely different star.
Yeah,
but this obviously was the right choice. Who would have guessed in our Bond miniseries that the Lazenby movie would be the best one,
the standout classic? Yeah.
And like. I thought in like his first scene is all like, is this it? Does he just have like this one scene? He's in this movie more than Connery was in fucking Sword of the Valiant.
True. I mean, I
maybe
feel,
just like a little bit. But
I mean, I feel like Connery had a bit more to do. He owned
Connery
a couple
had
more
like
scenes.
a monologue at the very least, and then he does this sort of.
I'm just grateful that Lazenby left the police precinct to do something and be in a fucking fight scene.
Yeah, he did actually. He swings his fists and he gets electrocuted at the end, and he entered the death dimension.
Yeah.
But you know who hasn't entered the death dimension?
Us.
George Lazenby.
Oh.
He's still gonna lie, he's 85 and he's feeling fine.
Still kicking. Well,
He's
good on
still
you, sir.
kicking. Yeah, he is retired from public life. He doesn't go to like conventions now or anything like that. But good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
A more interesting figure than I initially thought when we said we were going to do this. But yeah.
And in the standout best movie we covered in this trilogy. Even though I will say this was a fun fucking trilogy. I like lots to talk about in all the movies that we covered.
Absolutely, yeah. And Sword of the Valiant was kind of dull at times, but like I had a lot of fun with North Sea Hijack. I had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
And did we learn anything?
About James Bond actors? Not a hell of a lot, but I always had this one inkling when I first saw, and like we're going to talk about him, down the line, but when Timothy Dalton appeared in Hot Fuzz,
yes,
and he just chewed the scenery out of it as the bad guy, I had this thought of like, oh, I bet you all the James Bond actors really like playing villains. And I really picked up on that. Roger Moore wasn't a bad guy per se, but he wasn't a likable guy.
Sure.
And so my big takeaway from this is that of those three initial Bond actors, they do villainy well. And that's a takeaway I have from this. They don't necessarily own the screen time that they would have had as a Bond protagonist in this, but they had good villainous turns, and I'm including Lazemby in that because hey, you didn't suspect him to be a bad guy.
He got me. This movie put one over on me. It absolutely got me. Yeah. This isn't even like a substantiated rumor or whatever. This is just like someone speculating on the internet. But I read one person's take on what they should do for like this next round of like Bond or whatever, and they brought up like the idea of like taking it back to the 60s, making it more swinging casino type shit or whatever. Someone made the suggestion of Timothy Dalton should play M. And I support that. I think that's a cool fucking idea.
Yeah.
And he's aged into that type of role.
Sure, yeah.
Who's to say? And when we come back to this, Dalton will get his own episode. Brosnan will get his own episode. I have no fucking idea what we're going to do for Daniel Craig, but who knows? Maybe someone will appear at that time.
In the ether,
in the meantime. Yeah. But for now, that was Death Dimension.
Or Freeze Bomb.
If
you're nasty.
Or Black Eliminator.
Yeah.
Directed by Al Adamson. Rest in peace. That was that's crazy. That's some crazy shit right there.
Yeah.
If you like this episode, please check out our back catalog. We record a bunch of these episodes under the title of The Fuck Is This? It's the same show. It's just us. We're just having a laugh. Sometimes we have guests.
We're doing good.
Normally it's just us. We're just two lads. We're just having a laugh. And you can follow us on some of the social media. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram for when new episodes drop. We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb for his fantastic theme music. And you can follow me. I'm on Letterboxd. I'm Kaz Lesgard. Shout out to my Aunt Asha. It's her birthday today. I know she listens to these, so you'll get this birthday message like 2 weeks from now, but like I'll call you in a few hours.
Well, happy birthday, Aunt Asha. I'm Jameson Rafter. I have a YouTube channel where I post all of my fucking.
Just stop there.
That's my OnlyFans. What the fuck does George Lazemby say? This didn't happen to the other guy, or this never happened to the other guy.
Good.
Yeah, that's
all right.
We did it.
And just like the movie, abrupt end.
Yes.